Faw's Death Knight is about to come out, or his Dreadlord, excuse me. His Death Knight is just going to keep up the harass here, just try and slow down Ted as much as he can. And the Dreadlord, in case you guys didn't know, is freaking amazing creeper. He's on par with any of the summoning creepers because he can sleep anything up to a level 5 creep for 15 seconds, which means he significantly weakens the overall power of the camp and allows his army to creep it much easier. So as you're going to see, he's going to take advantage of that and come over here and creep out this turtle camp. And is he going to use sleep on this one? I don't know if he is, but it doesn't look like he is, but he's definitely going to be able to creep that out. Fav, still doing his same thing with his Death Knight, creeping it. When you're the Fiend player here and you're getting harassed by a Death Knight, just like, you're kind of going to use the same tactics that the other races use against you. You just want to put damage on that Death Knight whenever it comes around, right-click it with whatever you can, and don't let him get anything easy. Don't let him pick off any creeps without making him hurt. So, there you go. As the Fiend player at Tier 2, you want to get your Lich and Slaughterhouse started, and then go for Tier 3 or whatever. He's playing it pretty standard, just 5 Fiends and then his Lich, and he's just going to power creep the map out. But, that's boring. Let's take a look at the DK Ghoul strat. So he's going over creeping this out. He went ahead and slept the Ogre Magi, level 5 creep. It's going to be asleep for 15 seconds. Very useful. One of the keys to using this strategy, absolute importance, is getting the Dreadlord to level 3. Level 2 sleep is amazing. You can effectively perma-sleep a hero, which means the Death Knight. Yeah, that's a big deal if he can't ever coil. Something to note, the Death Knight here, Faw's Death Knight, actually gets a level 2 coil instead of aura. There's a couple of reasons for that. I'll talk about that in a sec. He realized he has to back off here. With the Lich there's really nothing he can do. He's just got to get the hell out. He's not going to be able to win any fights like this, and there's really no option he has available. A lot of times you'll see people going for Aura level 2. Sometimes you'll see Coil level 2. I think the most important difference here is because Ted went for the fast Fiend build, that means he's going to have level tier 2 very quickly, which means he's going to have a Lich very quickly, in which case your Dreadlord is more susceptible to nuke, and you're not going to be able to just kind of rush in and get surrounds on Fiends, because your ghouls are going to be slowed. So that's why that's probably why he went for Coil in this situation, whereas with the normal Fiend build, where you get more Fiends, your tech is slower, the Lich might be coming out about now, you would often go for Aura level 2, so you can rush up and force surrounds much more, and use it to your advantage, like such. Anyway, now that he's got Tier 3, notice that he got a Lich immediately, and he's going to get Orb on the Lich. Someone on the forums was talking about why people always go Tier 3 so fast in Mirror, and a friend of mine, Ilmatic, mentioned that basically it's, Lich Orb is extremely important. Like, it's night and day. Almost always in a fight, if one player has Orb and the other doesn't, the player with Orb is going to win. And I definitely agree with that. You need that Orb for focus and just to make hero focusing easier, to make unit focusing easier. He's starting to pump gargoyles out now. You want to keep doing that. I'll explain why in a second. And this is... Notice that he's got this creep jack going on. That's the goal of this DK Ghoul strat. That's really what it all amounts to. You're needing to creep jack the Fiend player every opportunity you have. He had a shade on him, I believe. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if we can see it, but as soon as you know where the Ghoul or the Fiend player is, you want to go after him for a creep jack. There's no way you're going to be able to out creep a Fiend player, so you every time you can need to go screw him over with your units and attacking. Wow, that was ridiculously incoherent. Wake up! I haven't had this game for 2 weeks. Whew, I need a drink of my orange juice here. Okay, now to restate everything I just said with a conscious brain. Tier 2, get shades very quickly as the Ghoul player, so you can creep jack as soon as they're out. There, that's what I was trying to say. Whew. Yeah. Sorry about that. Man, anyway, So now that he did his creep check, notice that he's not making too many ghouls. He's got, let's see, 2 on lumber and then 1 with him. And he's pretty much focusing on Gargs at this point, although no, he's starting to make more ghouls. That's because about now is when you have to start worrying about destroyers, and the amount of Gargs you have to get is kind of proportionate to the amount of fiends your opponent has, because the more fiends he has, the more of your Gargs are going to get webbed, and the more of them you need to get to his destros. In this case, there weren't many fiends because a lot of them just got killed. I mean, Ted lost like 10, 15 food in that fight down by the turtle camp. So here we go. This is going to be the second sort of jack that happens here, and this is probably the point at which Ted loses the game. With a ghoul-based strat, you really need creep jacks to win. Notice Ted is going to have his Death Knight slept a lot. He morphed that Destro to Devour Sleep, but it's going to be extremely hard to keep his Death Knight awake since it sleeps for 10 seconds every time it gets slept, and it's the cooldown on sleep is 6 seconds. And it only costs 75 mana, so notice how much the Death Knight is asleep, and it only now is able to Town Portal out. And freaking Ted just lost so many units. He lost like, what, 1, 2, I see 3 dead fiends, or maybe just 2. I don't know. That's not a fiend skeleton. That's a ghoul skeleton. And he lost 2 fiends and his Destro, maybe even 2 Destros. But that's a freaking ton of units to be losing there. That's probably the point at which he loses this game. And one of the things to remember when you're going with this DK ghoul strat is you don't need a ton of ghouls. After you've kind of made your big push at tier 3 and lost a bunch of your ghouls and killed off a bunch of his units, you don't really need to keep making ghouls. You just need enough to sort of swarm up on his fiends, and your heroes and skeleton rods can kind of make up for the slack. And the reasoning is you need a lot of air to be able to deal with his air and pressure it. Otherwise, that's kind of the main focus, is to be able to deal with his air, because that's what's going to be doing the most damage to your army. So, definitely, and also Gargs are very effective at focusing down fiends too. I mean, they don't do extra damage or anything. In fact, they do reduced damage. But I mean, you can get a lot of them very quickly, and their damage does add up. So, them with the orb from the Lich, you will kill fiends extremely fast. Make no mistake. So here's another sort of one of the great moral discussions, moral debates with Undead is, do you expo with a ghoul-based army? I've seen this on the forums a bit. A lot of people say at tier 3 you need to expo with ghouls. That's not really true. The difference is, it kind of depends on how big of an advantage you have. Fav has a huge advantage right now. He just creep-jacked Ted twice. Why do I keep wanting to say Todd? Jesus. He just creep-jacked Ted twice. Both jacks were extremely brutal for Ted, and he really just doesn't seem to know how to deal with this kind of DK ghoul strat very well. That's probably why he's expanding. It's not because you just want to expand when you get to tier 3. It's because he knows that he can. If you just get a little bit of an advantage, like, yeah, you're going to have a point at tier 3 where you have an advantage over the fiend player. But if you take that advantage and expand with it, then you're going to lose your advantage because you will have invested your gold into an expansion, which is extremely expensive for Undeads, by the way. You're gonna invest your gold into that, and by the time you start getting your investment back, he's going to have this enormous army of fiends and destroyers and frost realms. And he's just going to come over, and he's going to attack your shit, and you're going to be like, hey, what the fuck happened? I just lost. And he's going to be like, lol fag, you fucking noob. And you're going to be like, god damn it, this is so imbalanced. And then you're going to go punch a kitten out the window. And we all know we don't want to be punching kittens out windows, okay? So don't expand. Unless you're Fob, then you can do whatever you want. Actually, a pretty good alternative when you've got an advantage is to throw up a boneyard. Since you will already have the sacrificial pit, you need shades. We'll talk more about the importance of shades in the next games. This is the end of the game, of course. You can pretty much tell from the replay bar. Order of business here, just kill his shit. I mean, this is kind of dangerous. Fav is charging into Ted's base. I strongly caution against this. If you were Fav right here, you should not do what he is doing. I'm not saying that Fav is stupid in any way. He kind of knows that he can get away with this, but you're not Fav, so you can't make that judgment nearly as well as he can. And in fact, fighting in the Undead base is more often than not going to completely get you screwed over. So, I mean, especially since he has an Expo up, it's almost always better to sit